By this, I mentioned that one need to represent pictorially all elements of this relative commutant n prime intersect mk, where mk, I recall that this is the Jones tower of basic construction. So from n and m, this is the subfactor. From this, we'll get a tower. And we know by diagram algebra how to represent all these Jones projections. Then these all are subset of n prime intersect mk. So now we want to represent all elements of that. So we need, so for that, Jones has developed this machinery called planar algebra. And also there is another motivation that whenever I have in the previous two lectures, in the first two lectures, I have talked about subfactors. So natural thing is that what is its invariant. So planar algebra is a very satisfactory invariant in the sense that for strongly amenable subfactor, these are the complete invariant. So this is actually an axiomatization of standard invariant of a subfactor. So these two are the motivation of planar algebra. Now to describe planar algebra, we need to define planar. What is planar tangle? So what is the planar tangle? So like diagram algebra was described inside this disk like that, all non-intersecting strings. But planar tangle, there will be some holes. By that I mean there is one external disk and finitely many internal disks. And this planar tangle is the subset of the plane, which is the complement of these unions of all these interiors of the inner disk. I mean, if there is only one inner disk, then it is this annular region. That is, planar tangle is defined in this subset only of the plane. So here there are 4 internal disks. So complement of all the internal disks inside this external disk is the planar tangle with some additional data. So first data is that all the disk has even number of mark points. So like in my disk D1, there are 4 points. In D2 also there are 4 points. So there, and in D2, sorry, this is D. So this is D1, this is D2. D2 does not have any point. So 0 is even number. And D4 has 4. Like that, it should have only even number of mark points. Even number of mark points. That is in the data. And all the disks should be numbered. Like this has been numbered by D1, this is D2, like that. So if we change, if we renumber this, we'll get another tangle. So this is also part of the data, that all the disks are numbered. And now, like this diagram algebra has some strings, here also there are strings which joins the mark points. So there are 6 mark points in the external disk. So strings will join various mark points. And of course, these are non-intersecting because we need a planar diagram. It will not intersect. And this kind of strings are of 2 types. First one is a floating closed loop, like this one. There can have another one. There is this floating loops. And other loops, as I said, this will join the mark point of it. Like this can join between various internal disks also. So like this mark point and this mark point are joined by a string, like that. So this is also part of the data. But one important thing, that these strings should intersect the boundary transversally. That means it cannot go like a tangent. So this will exclude that one. That all the this string will touch the boundary of the disk transversally. Okay. And there will be a checkerboard setting. So there will be here, this is black and this is white. This is black, this is white. And this will be also, this string is also shaded like that. And along this string, the shading will change. So this is white, and along this string, this will change. That means this will be black. Okay. And this is very important, that for each disk, either external or all the internal disk, one of the arc. So like in D1, there are first, two, three, four. There are four arcs. So one of the arcs is chosen and put a star in front of that somewhere. So in this external disk, this is the chosen arc. So here we have put a star. In D4, this is the chosen arc, and we have put a star here. So this is also a part of the data, and all this data is called a planar tangle. And we do everything up to planar isotope. That means if we can enlarge this whole disk and make it larger, so that will be the same tangle. Up to isotopy, these tangles are same. And so this is the definition of planar tangle. Now we call the color of a internal disk. By that I mean, suppose here we have four mark points. So color is 2, 4 divided by 2. And we have to see whether the star that distinguish arc, whether this lies in the black region or white region. Then if it is in the black region, we say color is 2 minus, K minus, whether 2K is the mark point. And if it is black white, then we say it plus. Like color of D1 is 2 plus because the star is in the positive, in the white region. And in the external disk, see here there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, total 6 points. So color should be 3. Now see, this is plus or minus. The star is in the black region. In this black region, this is the star. So it is 3 minus. Color of the external disk is the 3 minus. And we say that color of the tangle is the color of the external disk. So all this data can be written in a simpler way by this. So we call T is a tangle, so T, this tangle data is encoded like that. T above we write K naught, comma epsilon naught. So this is the color of the external disk, and these are the color of first disk D1 of the tangle, first disk, and it is the color of the second disk. And there are B many disks. B can be empty, as I said in the previous lecture. B can be empty like the temple lily. So this is by, so whenever we have given this type of data, by that we have various meaning. This means that external disk has color 2K K naught epsilon naught, and each internal disk has color Ki epsilon. That is the planar tangle. Now we have given so various examples of some planar tangles. So most easy case is that when B is 0, so there is no internal disk. So this, like here only there is one external disk, there is no hole. And if there are no loops, floating loops, we call this as Temperley leaf tangles. Recall that our Temperley leaf diagrams, they were inside a rectangle we have drawn like that. These were the diagram algebra we have discussed. Now there will be just a star in the external disk and various shading, checkerboard shading. So this is motivated by this Temperley leaf diagram basically. And here this color of this tangle, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So color is 8 by 2, and the star is in the black region. So 8 by 2 minus. This is 4 minus. Now among this Temperley leaf tangle, recall again, the Temperley leaf tangle means there is no internal disk, no floating loops. These are called Jones projections, these special tangles, where, let me draw here, by epsilon 2 plus, I means like this. This is the star region, and this is the plus. This is epsilon 2 plus. Then what is epsilon 2 minus? Just shading will change, and this is the star. This type of tangles are called Jones projection tangle. It will be clarified at the end why these are called Jones projection. This is the epsilon 4 minus. This is because these are 8 points in the disk, external disk, 8 mark, and the star is in the positive, in the black region. That is why it is 4 minus. Now we have drawn 3 plus. Is this one? No, this should not be 3. So Sorry.
Sorry, just
Ah,
can you just once more explain how the sign is coming?
okay. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, just from that. Yeah.
okay, from that figure, this one. See, in this internal disk, if we want to know the color of the internal disk, we have to say specify the sign. So here there are how many points? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mark points. So color would be 4 by 2, comma, and I have to see the distinguished arc. This is the distinguished arc. Whether this distinguished arc is in the white region or in the black region. So if it is in the white region, we put a plus. So color of this disk is 2 plus.
So
But the color of the external disk, here there are 8, 6 points. So it should be 3 either plus or minus. So see the star region. This is the star arc. Star arc is in the black region. So it should be 3 minus.
okay.
And in this figure where I was describing, here, see, if we want to know the color of the external disk, which is same as the color of the tangle, is how many points? There are 8 points. So 8 by 2. And see, this is the mark, this distinguished arc. And this arc, the star is in the black region. So it should be minus. So is that fine?
Yeah. So and there is going to be only one distinguished arc.
Yes, yes, only one. So so if we put star here, this will be epsilon, some different angle, not this angle.
Okay. Okay.
And there can have yes, there can have only one angle, one distinguished arc.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So no, in n equals 3, I want to describe epsilon 3 plus. So this Jones projection angle is this one. This is white because it should be plus, and then this is epsilon 3. Similarly, if you want to draw epsilon 4 plus, we have to draw like this. This is like this. Here, see. This is 3 minus. I'm not considering these 2 points. So these are the Jones projection triangle. In the Jones projection triangle, there will be this kind of things in somewhere. Other in the left side of that, there will be through string.
Okay. So in the example of epsilon 4 plus, so if I have this vertical strip to the right of these two.
Yes, good question. Oh yeah, this will come. These are called inclusion triangle. I'll come to that. This is a good. You are asking this. Oh,
No. I was
you
only
are asking this line, right?
Yeah. So if the vertical strip is to the right, then is it the same tangle or?
Yeah, it will be same tangle because of the inclusion. A priori, this will be different because color is different. As a tangle, these are different. So when we describe planar algebra, we'll see that these are basically same. But still now these are different, of course, because if you draw a line here, let me draw a line, this line, then this is 5 plus, no? This is no longer a 4 plus triangle. So these are different triangles.
No. I was only asking that if I have the vertical strip only to the right.
Of this diagram or something different?
Yeah, of this diagram. So then I mean, by applying a symmetry, but I can get the second one. But is it the same in yours?
No, these are different actually.
Okay.
These are different.
Thank you.
But this putting a vertical line at the end will these are called inclusion tangle. That will be very important. Putting a vertical through string before at the left is different than putting it at right.
Okay.
Okay, and now I have described this unit tangle. These are all through strings, like the units in the diagram algebra, Temple-Lilly algebra. There are through strings. These are unit. So all these name will be clarified why these are unit. And these are the identity tangle. That means there are 4 points above total 8 points in the outside disk, and in the internal disk also there are 8 points, and there are these strings are joined like this. These are called identity tangle. This is I3 minus I3 minus. So, and this inclusion tangle is almost like a identity tangle, but we have to put one vertical line at the end. So these are inclusion tangle. Like this is 4 plus and 5 plus. So up to now we have in the first example where we have unit tangle and Jones projection tangle, we don't have any internal disk. And now we have internal disk. These are called annular tangle for the obvious reason. So two important annular tangle is identity tangle, this one, and another one is this inclusion tangle. So it is like identity tangle plus one line at the end. And also there are a few more conditional expectation. So here in the internal disk, there are 4 points, and in the external there are color is 4. That means in the internal there are 8 points, and in the external box there are 6 points. So color is 3. And this is like that. The end 2 points are joined like this. These are called conditional expectation. So so these are for the internal disk. This is 4 plus, and this is 3 plus. Similarly, one can, if you do this string in the left hand side, if you draw in the left hand side, you will get a left conditional expectation tangle. So fine, these are all important annular tangles which we today will use. And there are now next level of difficulties if there are 2 internal disks. Here, this is the D1 and this is the D2. And these are the chosen distinguished R. And this is the chosen distinguished R. So this is the multiplication tangle. It is M3 plus because there are 6 points here and star is in the white region. For the second disk also it is 3 plus because there are 6 points star in the white region, and the external is also 3. These are called multiplication tangle. Okay, this will play important role in today's lecture. So let me share another lecture 4. So is it visible? Yeah, okay. So now we have described planar tangle. Now today I will show how from old tangle we can draw new tangle. So what is the obvious thing? Obvious thing is just renumber the internal disk. So suppose we have this is my given tangle. That means we have B many internal disks. Color of the first disk is K1 epsilon 1. Epsilon 1 is either 1 or -1 depending on the star, where this is in the black region or white region. And this is the color of the KB epsilon B. And this is the color K0 epsilon 0 is the color of the external disk. Now suppose sigma is a permutation on the number of internal disks, permutation on this set. So we define the sigma of T, a new tangle. We have a tangle T, now we want to define another tangle sigma of T to be the tangle which is as a subset of the plane. This is same as T, except the numbering of the internal disk is changed by this sigma. That is the ith internal disk of T is the sigma ith internal disk of sigma T. So let me give an example. So just previously I said that there is this multiplication tangle. Here this is the D1 first disk and this is the second disk. Different color. This is the first disk, this is the second disk. Now so there are 2 disks now. Now sigma should be permutation on this set 1 and 2. So what is the non-trivial permutation? Only this transposition. So this one, this sigma of M now will be just D1 will get changed to D2 and D2 will be D1. So we'll get a priori will get a different tangle. And this is the renumbered tangle. Okay. So this is very natural. Just you renumber the internal disk, you will get another tangle. Now this is the most important substitution. By substitution, one can get another tangle. So this is my T. Now you understand by this what I mean by that. So this is T, and suppose this is T tilde. And such that the external disk of the T tilde's color is same as some ith internal disk of T. So actually we want to resize T tilde in such a way that we want to put that in the ith disk of T. So this color should match, otherwise how I can put it. And then we can obtain another tangle T circle T tilde. And I, that means it is everything is happening in the ith disk. So what we'll do, first we'll see that external, like it is better to understand why this example. So this is my T. This is my T. This has 4+ color. External disk color is 4+. Internal color of D1 is 3+, and D2 is also 3+. Now this is my T tilde, whose color of the external disk is 4+. No. 3+, right? Color of T tilde. How many points are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So color is 6/2, comma star is in the white region, so it is plus. This is 3+. And we want to define T circle 1 T tilde. So we want to substitute T tilde inside the first disk of T. So let me see that whether color is matching. Yes, color is matching because color of T tilde is 3+, and color of D1 first disk is also 3+. Star is in the white region. So one can define this. So what we'll do, just squeeze this T tilde and put inside along the star of this. So the star of this should match the star of that. It does not matter because up to isotopic tangles are same. So just squeeze it and put it along the star arc, and then remove this boundary of U. So I have described here. So this is the D1's disk. This D1's disk is this one. Okay. And inside D1, I have put this guy, T tilde. So I have drawn this T tilde here. And now remove this color, this one, and this star also. So we get a new tangle. Now number of disks has increased. So we just put D1, D2, D3 properly. There is a rule how to put D1, D2, D3. This is the substitution tangle. Okay, let me see. This here T tilde has 2 disks. It can happen that T tilde has no internal disk. So suppose this is my T tilde and T take the same tangle. So let me draw again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Here also this is T1. This is T2. And okay, this is the start. This is the start. This is the setting. Okay. Now we want to define T circle 1 T tilde. Again, let me do in the first disk. One can do in the second disk also. So everything will be same. No, I mean the procedure will be same, but we'll get different angle if we substitute in the second disk. So now this is my D1. See, this is, I have increased this one because I have to substitute T tilde inside. Now this is my T tilde. So along the star, we put this T tilde. This is the star. So we have put this T tilde here in this line. And now remove this external boundary. So we'll get another 10. This is the substitution tangle. So these two are the natural way to obtain various tangles from the old one. Then you can substitute together T circle 1, 2, some T1 tilde, T2 tilde. And this notation saying that in the first box you put T1 tilde, and the second box you put T2 tilde. So this way, by induction, you can do it for any number of times. Even you can fix one of them. That means suppose you have T has color 3. There are 3 boxes. Sorry, there are 3 internal boxes. You can just substitute in one, 2 of them. One just remain fixed. So these are the various ways to obtain the multiplication tangle. So it is enough to do in the one tangle, how what is happening, because then induction we can do. So up to this, do you have any question of this substitution? Okay. Now we'll come. We have understood what is planar tangle. Let me define now planar algebra. So by planar algebra, I mean a collection of vector spaces. And this can be done over any field, but let me do it only for complex number because we are interested in subfactor planar algebra ultimately. So these are the collection, and K epsilon the color. Color, you remember the color means 1, 0, 1, 2, this set, product, plus, minus. This is the definition of the color set. So we have a collection of vector spaces over C such that given any such tangle, there is a corresponding linear map from the tensor product of all these this P, K epsilon. So this is corresponding to the first disk. So there are various internal disks. Corresponding to each internal disk, we will attach a vector space and a linear map, so that ZT, what is this? ZT is a map from this tensor product to PK not epsilon 1. And if there are no internal disks, it is just C to PK not epsilon. So this need to be elaborated a little bit. Okay, I'll draw here something. So suppose we have this tangle. So this is the tangle. Now we have to define a planar algebra. What is a planar algebra? Planar algebra is a collection of vector spaces for each color. So here color of D1 is 3 plus and color of D2 is also 3 plus. So we have vector spaces for each color. So we have this vector space and another copy of that. So given this tangle M, we can describe a linear map from, this is from P3 plus. This is for the first disk. Tensor second disk is P3 plus, and this will go to this color of the external disk, that is also 3 plus. So it will be a map from this one. So as if you put here X, ZM of X tensor Y, you will get something, some W. So you can think of as some machine, such that if you put some data in the internal thing, you will get an output. So if you put some input here, X input means elements of the vector space, and this is Y is in P3 plus. So you will get an output in the external disk. In the also W is in P3 plus. Okay, so another example where these are not. Take this example. So this is the external disk, this is the internal. Okay, now this tangle T will be a map from where to where. Color of this is 3 minus. So and color of the external disk is 2, because there are 4 mark point, 2 minus. So it should be a map from 3 minus to P of 2 minus. So if you put an input here, ZT of X will lie into P2 minus. So if you put an input X here, we will get an element in P2 minus. So if there are, so this is D1, this is a general tangle. Suppose there are K many points corresponding to each disk, one can describe a vector space P1. Then for D2, we'll get a P2, like that. Suppose B many internal disks, PB. So ZT, suppose T is this tangle. ZT is just a linear map from this tensor product to P of P naught. P naught is the color of the, suppose color of the external box is K naught. So it is Pk. That is the in the internal box you will put some input, and as a result you should get an output, that ZT. So this is the definition of planar algebra, but ZT should satisfy some natural axiom, of course, because there are renumbering and all these things happening, so it should be compatible. So here is the definition of planar algebra. So a planar algebra is a collection of vector spaces, complex vector spaces, such that and also a corresponding linear map ZT, which which is defined like that. This is the domain and this is the range. And if there is no, for the temporal leaf, suppose take this temporal leaf, there are no internal leaves. So it should, that ZT will be defined from C to color of the P here 3 plus, like that. And these following axioms are satisfied. Compatibility with the renumbering. So this axiom, I'll first tell something, then we'll define properly. This is saying that ZT, it does not matter actually if you renumber it or not. Ultimately, because you have a what is that called? When you have this unitary map, by unitary you can see that up to renumbering does not matter. That is what it says. So mathematically how we will say this. So suppose this is my T, and given any permutation sigma, we have another tangle sigma T, such that this diagram commutes. See, this is the ZT. ZT is defined from this one to Pk naught epsilon 1. This is ZT. And you have a U sigma, because you have renumbered this, and so there will be unitary from this vector space to that. And this diagram should commute. Okay, if this is abstract, then let me give an example. Again, take this M3 plus and this multiplication tangle. Color of the internal box is 3 plus, here also 3 plus, external box is 3 plus also. And if you take this transposition at my sigma, then 1 comma 2t will be the D1 will get changed to D2, and D2 box here will be D1. So what is this? This is T, original T. ZT of X tensor Y, just put X dot Y notation. Then Z of sigma T will be by this notation Y dot X. Now you will be here the flip operator. Then you can see that these maps are same basically. Okay, you can see the details in the Jones Sundar. Also, I can send the notes to Sion and Srijan. From there, you can see. I'll not go to the details. So there is there is an axiom for renumbering, and also there is a substitution compatibility action. So in the ith box, we'll put T tilde and we'll define another tangle T circle T tilde. So this should be also compatible properly, and some diagram should commute. So what is the meaning of that? This is, you can make it from, you can read it from this or from Jones Sundar. But what is happening? So as I said, what is Z of T? So Z of T is a machine basically. What is the machine? If you put inputs in various internal disks, ultimately you should get an output by this Pk epsilon tensor this to Pk via this linear map. Now, so we'll do the substitution T circle T tilde. I have drawn in a nice way so that T circle T tilde makes sense in the D2 box. So it is T circle 2 T tilde. So this is my T circle T tilde. Now, what is Z of T circle T tilde? So it is putting various inputs. So put input x1 in the D1 box, x2 in the D2 box. These xi's are the element of the vector space. Here put x3. Here put x4. So if you do all this, if you put there, that means ZT of x1 in a rigorous way, it is saying sorry, x4. So you will get an output, call it W. Okay, let's call it W1, let's say. And also you can do the different thing. You can put that x3, x2 and x3 in the T tilde itself, x2 and x3. And from ZT tilde, you can get an output, call that output W tilde. Now you put this W tilde here x1, this is x4, and this is my W tilde. So the resultant should be same. I mean, Z of T circle T tilde should be Z of T, where this is Pk1 epsilon 1 is going later than ZT tilde here. So you can calculate the output before substitution, or at the end you can calculate the output. So this will not matter. This will be the same thing. This is the substitution action. Here I have drawn another example of T circle T tilde. And so let me not do this. And this is the last axiom, is the non-degeneracy axiom. So this tangle I k epsilon, I've called it identity tangle. Now it will be clear why I called it identity tangle. So what is I k epsilon? This is an annular tangle. This has k many external disks and 2k many. Color of the external disk is k plus. Color of the internal disk also k plus. I have drawn the plus. You can do the same thing for minus also. So this is my identity tangle. This is, let me just give some example. So suppose 3. So this is Zi 3 plus to 3 plus. This will be the identity of the planar of the pk3. So what is this Z of this? Let me explain this little bit. Z of I 3 plus 3 plus, where from it is defined? It is defined from P3 plus to P3 plus. So if you put X, Z, let me call this simply by I, Zi of X will be again an element of P3 plus. This axiom is saying that this is equal to X, because identity of P3 plus of X is nothing but X. That is what it is saying. So this is basically saying that by X in a vector space, we can draw this as like this. That does not matter because of non-degeneracy. Because this is the identity tangle, right? And Zi of X is nothing but identity of X. So this is the meaning of that X in any vector space. Planar algebra means various vector spaces. So any element of the vector space can be written as, so this is vector space, when suppose this is element of pk epsilon, this can be written in a planar algebra. You can draw as a rectangle also if you wish. Let me draw these. So this can be drawn like this. So this is the non-degeneracy action. So this is the planar algebra. Planar algebra is a collection of vector space and a linear map ZT which satisfies some natural condition, which is a little difficult to write, but intuitively this is not that difficult. Okay. Now I'll mention some extra properties of planar algebra. Some planar algebra might have this type of properties, some does not have, but these are very desirable properties. We'll see immediately. First condition is called connectedness. So if recall the diagram algebra where we have described d and beta. So d0 beta was scalar actually, because that is Catalan number. Any d and b is the Catalan number. If n is 0, this will be 1. Similarly, a planar algebra P is said to be connected if P0 plus minus dimension over C vector space. So vector space dimension is 1. And we identify P0 plus minus with the C scalar, our scalar field, complex one. This is called connected. And a connected planar algebra is said to have modulus delta if there is a scalar delta such that this holds. So let me explain this. So this is my tangle. This is the floating loops. There are no internal box, right? So where from this is T, where from ZT will be defined. There is no internal box, so it should be defined from C to where there are no mark point on the external disk also. So P0, that is also in P0 plus. So it will be, because it is connected, P0 plus is C. So it will be also C to C. Therefore, this is just saying that Z of this is equal to delta times complex number. That means Z of, suppose this, of some T, if you put, it is nothing but delta times T. Okay. This just saying that it does not matter if we remove the loop or not. This is just say this one is same as delta times this. This is what the meaning is. You can remove this, you remove the loops, floating loops. And this is very desirable that a planar algebra P is said to have be finite dimensional if dimension of each vector space is finite. And a connected planar algebra is called spherical if the following are true, that Z of this triangle. So this is a map from 1 plus, because color is 1 plus. Here the color is 1 plus. So Z of this guy, call it T1, this triangle T1 and this triangle T2. Z of T1 is a map from P1 plus to where? Color is 0. So it will, by connectedness, it will go to C. So JT1 is a map from this vector space, P1 plus to C, and JT2 is also a map from P1 plus. This is also color of the internal disk is 2. Sorry, 1 plus. So this JT2 is 1 plus 2, again 2 scalar. And this is saying that these two are same. This is called spherical. That means imagine this plane. So in the floor of your where you are sitting, and this string you are just dragging towards the sphere and putting and it will come in this side, right hand side. Then this will not matter. This will be same. This is why it's spherical. Now we'll give so these are various nice properties of a planar algebra, and we'll give an example of a planar algebra which has these nice properties, that sphericality, finite dimensionality, modulus, and connectedness. These are called temporally leaf planar algebra. So to define a planar algebra, what we have to do, we have to define a vector space for each color K epsilon, and we have to describe a ZT. So both are we will do. P K epsilon is span of all temporally leaf tangents. Like the diagram algebra. In the diagram algebra, there are no coloring, shading. There is no shading or star. Now there will be all temporally leaf tangles, means the diagram algebras with all the stars are there. So all the temporally leaf of color K epsilon is the basis. This is my vector space. And how will you define ZT? So for any tangle, we have to put these various inputs here. For example, you take this as my T. Now this ZT should be defined from where? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6. ZT should be defined from P3 plus tensoring with here D2 has 4 mark points. So it is 2 plus. That is P2 plus. And this will map to where? Outside this gas color. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3 plus. So it should go to 3 plus from this tensor product onto that. And how will do? What is P3 plus? So we have to put an element from this. So we have to put a 3 plus temporally leaf tangle. Consider this as this has 3 color and this has 2 color. P2 plus means this one. So we'll put this in the first disk and we'll put this in the second disk. So what is the resultant? There is one through string and one this closed loops, white closed loop, and one line here and one line here. And we'll define is like that. For each loop, you put a delta. So if there are 2 loops, put delta square and just draw the rest of the figure. So this is again a temporally leaf tangle. So this is the rule. So we have defined ZT, and you can easily see that it is like the diagram algebra, and we have computed all the dimension of each vector space. So these are finite dimensional. Therefore, this is a finite dimensional planar algebra, and by this prescription, it is easy to see that ZT has also modulus delta, because that is how we have defined. For each loop, we'll compensate it by a delta. So this temporally planar algebra will satisfy all these nice properties: connectedness, modulus, finite dimensionality, and also sphericality. Okay. Now we want to, because we are in a star algebra world, so we should define a star structure on a planar algebra. So for that, what we'll do, we'll define an adjoint of a tangle. So what we'll do, given any tangle, we'll just reflect it along a horizontal line. You can do in a vertical line also. So for example, suppose this is my M on tangle. So reflect this tangle and just all the data will get reflected along this line and we'll get a new tangle M star. That is the definition of an adjoint of a triangle. So for each T, we have a definition of T star. Now, a star planar algebra, by that I mean a planar algebra with a map, a star for each pk epsilon to pk epsilon, a star map. And this is just a notation. This is not the same star here, whatever we have defined here. T star. This is not that. So a star planar algebra is a planar algebra. That means we have a bunch of vector spaces and a star operation, which is conjugate linear, usual property. Star is involutive, and this is the very crucial property. So J_T of x1 dot xn. So after putting these inputs, we'll get an output in some vector space, and then we have a star. So this star is same as Z of T star, and this star is the adjoint of a triangle. This star of this. This is an axiom. This is called a star planar algebra. So far is good. We have defined a star planar algebra, and this temple ellipse planar algebra can be also given a star by obviously by just a star map from pk epsilon to pk epsilon is very easy. Just reflect that each diagram algebra temple ellipse angle along a line, so that will be the star. Now we define the subfactor planar algebra, a very good kind of planar algebra. So first we define a trace. So given any x in pk epsilon, because we have a planar algebra, we have a vector space for each color. Then define trace of x, tr of x, that one can prove that that is a trace by this. So this is a triangle. See, this is a triangle. So there are 2k many points here. So, but there are no external disk has no mark point. So if this is my T, Zt is defined from where to where? In the internal disk has color k epsilon. So it is defining from pk epsilon to p0 plus. But by connectedness, we just if it is connected, it will be land up into scalar. And one can easily show by sphericality that. So we have assumed that we have a all the planar algebra has all those good properties. Then we are defining trace. All the good properties I mentioned earlier. So one can show that this will be a trace, pictorial trace. Now we are ready for the definition of subfactor planar algebra. So a finite dimensional connected star planar algebra with modulus delta is said to be a subfactor planar algebra if this trace is positive. This pictorially you have defined a trace, and this trace of x star x is greater than equal to 0, and equal to 0 you can only x is 0. So this is connected star planar algebra, modulus delta. Modulus delta means any floating loops we can remove by the delta, whether white loop or black loop does not matter, and with a trace. Now this is a very beautiful fact. Actually, this is you have to do nice pictorial computation to prove this. That if P is a subfactor planar algebra, then all these pk epsilon form a chain of unital subalgebra. That means each pk epsilon can be made can be given an algebra structure in such a way that pk epsilon is a subset of pk plus 1 epsilon. It will go like that. It is a chain of unitar algebra, sister algebra, in fact. So each pk epsilon will be a sister algebra, and with the trace is compatible. I mean, you have this inclusion. So trace k plus 1 of this, if you restrict here, it will be same. So you have a compatible trace. Now, so how to do the multiplication? Why pk epsilon will be an algebra? So remember, this type of tangle we call always a multiplication tangle. Now reason will be clear. So for any x in pk epsilon and y also in pk epsilon, we want to define, we have to give a multiplication structure so that pk epsilon will be an algebra. So x dot y will be z of this tangle of x tensor 1. So this triangle called, this is my M. So ZM is a map from where to where? PK epsilon, tensor PK epsilon to also in PK epsilon, which is the color of the external disk K epsilon. So this ZM of X tensor Y, this is my X dot Y. So in this kind of triangle, if you put X here and Y here, will be getting a multiplication X dot Y. And you can check that this is a associative algebra. And this is also a unital algebra because this is the unit, all the through string. So let me prove this very easily. So X dot 1K should be equal to X. So, but what is X dot 1K? In this multiplication triangle has two internal disks. In the first disk, you put X. By renumbering, it does not matter actually. So you can put X here or here. You have to just fix to one notation, whether you want to put above or below. So here you put X and here you put 1K, 1K. But what is 1K? 1K means all these lines are joined through string. So ultimately you will get an X. But by non-degeneracy, I said that that is same as X. So X dot 1K will be X. So this will be a unitary algebra structure, and you can give a star algebra structure. So X, you can prove that XY star will be Y star X star. Because of the way I have defined this star planar algebra, this is a nice pictorial proof. You can do this. And this is important. So, and also you can, by some GNS type construction, one can give each PK epsilon as a C star algebra structure. Main thing is this star algebra and the multiplication. C star algebra will be easy. And these are finite dimension, right? Because we are in a subfactor planar. And PK epsilon is a subset of PK plus 1 epsilon. How to do that? So consider an X in PK epsilon. So X can be written like that. Now just consider this inclusion triangle. Just drawing a through strings at the right side. This is my inclusion triangle. So this is, if this is in landing, the output is landing in PK epsilon, this guy, if you take this triangle and put X here, this will land into P1 more, PK plus 1 epsilon, because we have a vertical string there. So this is the inclusion. So call this inclusion as iota. X going to, this is the map. This is the by inclusion. And all this triangle I have described properly in the previous lecture. So this should not be any confusion there. And since the modulus is delta greater than 0, one can show that this map is injective. So it is really an inclusion map. And also here I have say, so suppose for an example, P2 plus is a subset of P3 plus. So what we have to do? We have to prove basically if you take an X here, trace 3 of X same as trace 2 of X. By that I mean AX can be, now X is in here, but by this inclusion map, iota of X will be in P3 plus. So trace 3 of iota of X would be equal to trace 2 of X. And this is also a very pleasant pictorial computation. You can, I leave it, but you can see my note here. So there is a compatible trace, and this trace will be a state also. So what is the model of the thing? I have this map P1 epsilon subset P2 epsilon subset P3 epsilon. We have this inclusion with respect to this iota by this inclusion triangle. Because these are injective, we can call it an inclusion. So we will get such a tower, and trace of on each of the finite dimensional C-star algebra are compatible. This is the, so these are called subfactor planar algebra, very good class of planar algebra. Now let us come back to subfactor. So we have this subfactor n subset m and finite Jones index. So we have this inclusion n subset m subset m1. These are the Jones tower. So from this old subfactor, we're getting various new subfactor, m subset m1, m1 subset m2, like that it will continue. And we have proved, recall, we have proved that if this is a finite index subfactor, each n prime intersect m is a finite dimensional C-star algebra. And then I have proved that each of these n prime intersect n, n prime intersect m, n prime intersect m1, these are called relative commutative, higher relative commutative. These will be all finite dimensional sister algebra. Similarly, for this m subset m1, m2, if for this subset, this chain, also same thing will happen. These are all finite dimensional sister algebras, and these are the nice inclusions. Because if n subset m, then m prime subset n prime, right? So here this should not be, this should be other way. N subset m. Oh no, fine. What is it? N subset m, then m prime subset n prime. So n prime is bigger. Oh, I was right. Okay, so these are nice inclusions, and all this Jones projection, like E1 will be in n prime intersect M1, EK will be in n prime intersect M. And these data, this grid of finite dimensional sister algebra is called a standard invariant of a subfactor. So what is the relationship with this and planar algebra? And this, for this, we have this beautiful Jones theorem. So suppose this is the statement of the theorem. Suppose we have this Jones tower associated to an extremal subfactor. Okay, I should mention a little bit about extremal. So in n prime intersect m, there we have seen that n prime is also a 2-1 factor, m also a 2-1 factor, right? N prime is a 2-1 factor. That means there exists a trace on n prime, unique trace, and m is a 2-1 factor. So we have also a trace on m. So on n prime intersect m, we can take both n prime trace and restrict to n prime intersect m. Also, we can take trace of m and we can restrict that trace on this subalgebra of m. But for extremal, this good thing is that both the trace will be same. So this is one equivalent definition of extremal subfactor. And you never worry about that. These are very good subfactor. So if we have a finite index, so call this index as delta square, an extremal subfactor, then there exists a unique subfactor planar algebra. That is very important. So given any subfactor, finite index subfactor, we can hook up a subfactor, unique subfactor planar algebra, call this as Pn sub m, just notation, or modulus delta. See, this delta is very much related with the index. The delta means that how we can remove the closed loops. And then the following conditions will hold. That so this is the planar algebra P. Pk plus will be just n prime intersect mk minus 1. This n. So this is my P1, this is my P2, this is my Pk. So we can find a planar algebra such that each Pk will be the higher relative commutative. That is too good. And the k minus will be m prime intersect mk. And not only that, so we have seen here, we have these inclusions here, set theoretic inclusion here, and also in the lower grid. But we have inclusions by the pictorial inclusion tangle of the planar algebra also. So this Jones theorem is saying that this inclusion will also be consistent. So this is an equality of the star algebras, not even C-star algebras, which is consistent with the inclusion on both sides. This is very important. So given a subfactor, we have hooked up a planar algebra. Of course, I will not prove it. We can hook up a planar algebra whose vector spaces are related by the subfactor in this way. And so this epsilon tangles I have drawn in the previous talk, like this is my epsilon 2 plus this cup. Here, after a left vertical strand, we'll put this cup, white cup now. This is epsilon 3 plus. Like that, it will go on. But what is good about this epsilon k plus is this. So this does not have any, such epsilon does not have any internal bit. So it must be defined from C to the color of the external k naught epsilon naught. So it is saying that z of this of 1 is a complex number, is delta times the Jones projection. That is why these are called Jones projection tangle. In the beginning, I told I will explain why these are called Jones projection, and this is the explanation. because this will same as the Jones projection. And the left conditional expectation, this one. So recall that by in the second lecture I have said, given an inclusion of von Neumann algebra B subset A, and we have a trace on A, then there exists a trace preserving conditional expectation always. So from here to there, we always have a trace preserving conditional expectation from n prime intersect M1 to n prime intersect M. Similarly, from vertical inclusion also, we have a trace preserving, because these are all finite dimensional sister algebra. There are trace always. They are finite von Neumann algebra in particular. So vertically also we have a conditional expectation in each of this guy. And also here horizontally we have conditional expectation. And these are related by left conditional expectation tangle and right conditional expectation. So this is truly an axiomatization of standard invariant in this sense. So that is that Jones theorem is saying, given a subfactor, we can associate finite index. Infinite index is an open problem. There's a big open problem. How to consistently define a planar algebra? There are some progresses there, but I mean, it's not very clear. So if you have a finite index subfactor, one can associate a planar algebra. And in a very nice way, they are related. Just one cannot associate. These are very closely related by this above data. Okay, so I mean, I have almost done. I will say something. But what is the converse? So that is very crucial. So given a planar, so this planar algebra, so in the Jones theorem will be a subfactor planar algebra. Subfactor planar algebra. That means that good planar algebra, which has all those good properties. Now, natural question, what is the converse? Given any subfactor in planar algebra, can you cook up a subfactor? And that is a very deep problem actually. First, this thing has been done in the another, so like planar algebra, there is another language called lambda lattice, and that is much more analytic. This is very pictorial, planar algebra. So standard invariance has another description in terms of lambda lattice. And also there is another, this lambda lattice by Skorin-Poppa. And there is another description by representation theoretic stuff. This is by Oknaniu called paragroup. We will not do, but what I meant that given a subfactor planar algebra, which is same as a lambda lattice, Poppa has, in an inventionist paper, has reconstructed a subfactor from the lambda lattice. So this is in this paper in 1995 in the inventionist map. Poppa, given any standard invariant, I mean, given any lattice of standard invariant, that is called lambda lattice, he has explicitly constructed a subfactor. But what about this in pictorially how one can do that? That is what called GJS construction. So now from a planar algebra, we have to construct a subfactor. For that, we have to need this concept called isomorphism. So whenever we will define some algebra, we have to define a morphism. So suppose P and Q are planar algebras, then a morphism from P to Q. Remember, P and Q are planar algebra means for P there is a chain of vector spaces. And for Q, we have also a chain of vector spaces. Well, let me focus only on subfactor planar algebra. Otherwise, the chain will not be injective map. That inclusion will not be injective. That's the homomorphism. So let me focus on subfactor planar algebra here. So a morphism from P to Q, by that I mean a collection of linear maps. So this is also graded by this color, P of K epsilon, which is a linear map from this vector space to that vector space corresponding to each color. Such that if you give any tangle, this very natural diagram will commute. So this ZPT, so there is I will just take it from here. It's not a difficult. This is very natural. This diagram will commute. This is called planar algebra morphism. So we can talk about isomorphism of two planar algebra. Now we are ready to state the GJS construction. So theorem, let P be a subfactor planar algebra of modulus delta. Then one can construct, this is very difficult, not easy. One can construct a subfactor. Let me denote this by M lambda 0. This lambda is saying something about left regular representation in term. This is very nice because from a algebraic things, only a planar algebra, you can construct an analytic thing. That is too good. So from this subfactor planar algebra, one can construct a subfactor such that this index of this subfactor will be finite, and planar algebra of this subfactor, in this sense, in this Jones theorem sense, planar algebra of this subfactor is isomorphic to the original planar algebra you have started. So given a subfactor planar algebra, we can put up a subfactor so that planar algebra of the subfactor is same as the original planar algebra, isomorphic. So unfortunately, I cannot go to the proof of that. So reference for this GJS construction is in 2010 by Gunet, Jones, and Slechtenko. And name is Random Matrices, Free Probability, and Planar Algebra and stuff. So there is a heavy use of this new subject called free probability by Voiculescu. And there is a connection with random matrices. So this is a very difficult paper and very important paper. It is in quanta of math. But shortly after that, Jones, Slechtenko with Walker has, and independently by Kodialam and Sundar, around the same time, they have found very easy proof, not easy, I mean easier than this previous one, where they have used random matrix tool and free probability. They have found, just change they have taken an orthogonal approach, that multiplication in the planar, there is certain multiplication in the planar algebra, and they have changed that one. By that, they obtain that subfactor. So this paper name is an orthogonal approach to the subfactor of a planar algebra. This is in Pacific Journal of Maths, and independently by Kodialam and Sundar in 2009, from subfactor planar algebras to subfactor, International Journal of Mathematics. And I mean, this lot of details are there. I will recommend to read this paper. This is beautifully written in this paper, Kodialam and Sundar. And I should mention one thing, that using this GJS construction very recently with Professor Bijoy Kodialam, I have obtained a easier proof, among other things. I have obtained a easier proof of another important deep theorem of Popper, purely pictorially. So that is also a very good application of planar algebra. Using planar algebra, we have proved a very important theorem of Popper in purely pictorial way, and proof is much more easier. Popper again used the free probability theory, but we have not used that. We have used this GJS construction. Okay, and this original ideas of this reconstruction theorem is in this invention of math of the Popper, Sorin Popper. Okay, thank you very much for your question. Now I end this mini course here.
Thank you.